Alright, here we go. Hmm. Alright. In the movie 300, we see the army of Sparta, which only consists of 300 men. In this movie, we see that the army is kind of not fully formed because they're going on in a war that is not fully supported. So in this war, they embark many tasks, but we see that the army is always outrun and always outnumbered. However, they still pull through and they still manage to get all the way to the very end until they are defeated. This brings me to my quotation today by The Art of War by Sun Tzu. Fighting with a large army under your command is no wise different from fighting with a small one. It is merely a question of instituting signs and signals. And I interpret this as being sizes in everything in order to achieve something. And I agree with this quotation, and in order to prove that I agree with this quotation, I'll be using three main points. One being Spider-Man, second being Bless Me Ultima, and the third finally being Yoda from Star Wars. First off, Spider-Man. Spider-Man is seen as a scrawny, not so big kind of character and a superhero. And in his story, we see that in the beginning he's bullied, and he is seen as the nerd. He's a photographer. He doesn't really do much. He's not in any sports. He's just the nerd in class. Then, with the help of being bit by a spider, he gets these powers. He gets better. He gets higher strength. He can climb walls, and he has his senses improved like a spider as well. With that being said, although the spider webs initially aren't part of his body, he makes it kind of like part of his body because he creates the web shooters. Now, Spider-Man is still seen, even though with his strength and with his powers, he is still seen as scrawny. He is still pictured as scrawny in the comics, and that kind of proves that shows that you don't have to be big in order to overcome your difficulties, because he fights people like Dr. Octopus, Sandman, who can make themselves really, really big, and he still overcomes them. Which brings me back to my interpretation that size isn't everything to achieve something that you are trying to strive for. Second is Bless Me Ultima. Bless Me Ultima is a story about a young boy. It's a novel, and it's a story about a young boy who embarks on a journey with Ultima, which comes to visit him and his family, and is going to stay there until her passing days, pretty much. And in the story, we see that he embarks on a particular journey in order to try and save his cousin. His cousin was put upon a spell by three witches that he caught practicing witchcraft, which was obviously considered bad and kind of illegal and was frowned upon. So when he saw them, they thought, well, he's gonna go tell on us, so we got to do something. So they put a spell on him, and he was dying. The uncle came to Ultima asking for help, and Ultima finally decided to go, and she took the young boy with her. When they arrived, the young boy saw a really ill, really just done cousin, and Ultima used the young boy. It's kind of like a third wheel type of deal, where She used the young boy to take the spell out of his cousin, which was already really weak from the spell, and sort of put it in the young boy and take it out of him. It was kind of like a three-way process that could only have been achieved with the young boy. And although he was very small, he himself was able to overcome that spell when his cousin couldn't. So this again shows that it's not size. It's not size that proves whether you can achieve something or not. It's having willpower, having knowledge that someone else doesn't. This brings me to my third and final point, Yoda from Star Wars. Yoda is considered like the grand master of using the Force and being able to wield his lightsaber as well as he is. But then we see him and he's a small, kind of frail, old-looking character, and he's dying. Like, he is really, really old, and he's walking around with the cane. But when he's ready to fight, he fights, and it's like the cane wasn't even ever needed. So this also shows that size isn't everything, and if you know, and like he himself knew, he knew the means to use the Force and know the secrets of the Force and more strength in the Force. So he used that to his advantages, and it wasn't his size that gave him his strength, but it was his wisdom and his knowledge. So today we spoke about. Oh, that leads back to my interpretation, because he himself also used his size, and he proved that size isn't everything to achieve something, to overcoming all of his enemies. So today we talked about three main points: Spider-Man, Bless Me Ultima, and Yoda, which summed up my quotation by Sun Tzu. Fighting with a large army under your command is no wise different from fighting with a small one. It is merely a question of instituting signs and signals. And I interpreted this quotation as being size isn't everything in order to achieve something. And I agree with this quotation. And now going back to the movie 300, if the Spartan army did not have the means and the signs and signals and the strength inside them to fight, then that movie would have turned out the same, and they would have just lost the first battle when they were all completely outnumbered. Thank you.